but I am Miss Heather. I am Miss Evelyn's daughter, and we have been hanging out today. And she was telling me it was time to do the story, and I saw what the story was. And I love this story, so I'm going to get to do the story for you guys today. And at the very end, I'll tell you why it's one of my favorites. Okay, so but we're doing Out of the Grave today. We've done all of the crucifixion and the burial. So now we're talking about what happened after, because this is where it gets really good, right? So this is where we really start seeing everything change. You know, sometimes we're afraid of change, but this is when it's changing for the good. But sometimes before the good stuff happens, sometimes we still have to go through some trouble stuff, right? And so the disciples right now, they are very scared. And I want you to think of a time when you've been really scared, like whether you've been scared of getting in trouble. A lot of times when I was a kid, I would get scared of being in trouble because sometimes I got in trouble a lot. I don't know if any of you guys are like that or not. Probably not. Y'all are probably really good. But sometimes I wasn't. And so I would be afraid of getting in trouble. And so the disciples kind of felt like that because Jesus was gone and they were afraid they were going to get in the same kind of trouble because they had followed him. And so they were hiding, and they were all together, and they were actually afraid they were going to be hunted down and killed like Jesus had been killed. And so they were really kind of in a panic and wondering what was going on, and they were thinking the worst. And they had forgotten everything that Jesus had told them because they were fearful. They were afraid of all the things that were going on around them and all the things that they had no control over whatsoever. But had they stopped to think for 1 minute about what Jesus had told them, they wouldn't be scared. Because what did Jesus tell them? I bet if you were here right now, you could tell me. Jesus had told them this was going to happen, didn't he? Before anything ever happened to him, he told them. He said, they're gonna kill me, but I'm gonna come back. So there's nothing for you to be afraid of. He told them that. But sometimes when we get scared, we forget stuff, right? And so that's what was happening. And then, as they were talking amongst themselves and thinking, oh my goodness, what are we gonna do? They were panicking, they were freaking out. All of a sudden, Jesus showed up in the room with them. Now, let me tell you, that would catch my attention. Would it catch yours? So Jesus shows up, and he said, hey, don't be afraid, it's me. Well, at first they were like, no, it's a ghost. It's the ghost of Jesus. No. Luckily, can I tell you something? I want you to remember this forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. Luckily, Jesus is patient because sometimes we have to hear it like 5,000 million times, okay? So Jesus didn't get mad at them. He was like, no, it's me. I'm here. I told you I was coming back. Didn't you believe me? And so they were so, that they were so amazed to see him. And, he showed them, his wounds, and he showed them the scars. And they even sat down and ate together. And the disciples were so relieved because now that Jesus was back, they didn't have to be scared anymore. That's what they thought. And so Jesus said to them that things weren't finished yet, that they still had a job to do. And so, he told them, he said, I'm not going to be here much longer. And so when I'm gone, it's your job to tell others about me. That's going to be your sole purpose in life, is to do this one thing. And so they talked some more and Jesus left. Well, have you ever heard of a guy named Thomas? Now, let me tell you. Sometimes Thomas gets a bad rap, okay? He's one of my favorite disciples. It goes Peter, Thomas. Now, I tend to like the ones that mess up a lot because the ones that mess up a lot end up learning a lot. Some of us don't do things right the first time. We would prefer to do things right the first time, but some of us have got thicker skulls than others. But Jesus had said all these things. He had told them, that they were going to go out and they were going to change the world and they were going to do all these things. But Thomas wasn't there, right? So when Thomas comes back from wherever he was, and they told him that they'd seen Jesus, he didn't believe them. Because, well, sometimes it's hard to believe after you've gotten your heart broken, right? And so here was Thomas that had followed Jesus all this time, right? He'd done everything he was supposed to do. He saw Jesus heal the sick and raise the dead, and he saw these miracles, and he heard what Jesus had said, and that there was going to be this kingdom and all that, and he believed everything that Jesus said. But sometimes we don't always understand, and so Thomas didn't quite understand what Jesus was saying when he said he was going to have to die and that he would come back. So when Jesus died, I think Thomas's heart broke. And sometimes when your heart breaks and and you have such a big thought process of what something's going to be like, and it doesn't end up being that way, that it's hard to go on. And so that's what happened to Thomas is when Jesus died, part of Thomas kind of died with him. And so he really had trouble believing the other disciples. He wasn't trying to be ornery or cantankerous or difficult. He just couldn't quite get there. And so sometimes when we have trouble and we've been hurt, we act out in frustration. Have you ever been upset like that you've just had your feelings hurt? And sometimes we have our feelings hurt, we cry, but sometimes we have our feelings hurt, we get mad. And I think Thomas was a whole lot of between sad and mad. And it just frustrated, and he just had a hard time believing. And so he said that I'm not going to believe a word any of y'all say until I touch his hands, until I touch his side, because that's the only way I'm going to believe. Now, a week later, Jesus appeared to the disciples again. This time, Thomas was there. Now, how do you think Jesus reacted to Thomas? Do you think he was mad at him for having feelings? Do you think he was mad at him for doubting? Do you think he was upset that he was a little sad or mad? Do you know what Jesus said to Thomas? He said, Thomas, here, if this is what it takes, here, this is for you. And Thomas did believe. He said, my Lord, my God. But here's the part that's my favorite. And this is the part that I wanted to tell you about. Because in the next sentence, Jesus talks about us. Right? We're not even born yet. Not even anywhere near being born yet. Like we're all these hundreds and hundreds of years away. But in this moment, right then, Jesus talks about us. I'm going to read this verse to you, okay? It says, he's talking to Thomas, and he says, because you have seen me, you believed. Those who believe in me without seeing me are blessed. Now that's in John. I'm going to have to turn back a page to give you that, because I want you to read that for yourself, okay? It's John 20:29. That's talking about you. Right here where it says, those who believe in me without seeing me are blessed. Jesus knew when he talked to Thomas in those few minutes that he was leaving. And that everybody after he left, everybody after that would have to believe without seeing. They would have the luxury that Thomas had of seeing Jesus beforehand, that their doubts, that their fears, they would have to be quenched without ever laying eyes on Jesus. And Jesus, that's us, because I've not seen Jesus. I've never seen him in person. But I believe him, and that's who he's talking about right there. He says, those who believe in me without seeing me are blessed. That's you, and that's me. So see, even all those years ago, Jesus was thinking about you and me. And so I hope you remember that this week and weeks after, and it's been a pleasure getting to talk to you guys today. Bye.